The other day, my boss was like, hey, if you had a 10-minute video slot to fill, what would you do with it? And I was like, honestly, this. You're watching Used Cars Made Easy, brought to you by Carmigo. We've got all the used car market info you could possibly need going into January. Make sure to stick around to the end of the video. We're going to give you our 5 cars that we think are going to sell best in the new year. The Manheim Used Car Index, which tracks used car prices, has gone up for the second month in a row, which hasn't happened since like last year. It's a Christmas miracle if you're trying to sell a car. Partially that's because used car prices were so exorbitant earlier this year. And part of that's just the market's kind of leveling out a little bit, and that's good to see. Used car price drops have been really hard on sellers, partially because they've been such a steep drop, and partially because as humans, we perceive loss as greater than we perceive gain. We're more averse to losing $1 than we are excited about gaining $1. It's literally the reason that money doesn't make you happy. That drop makes you feel really bad. You're like, I'm not making enough money on my car. Well, if this was 2019, you're making incredible money on your car. You just happen to be selling right on the tail end of a bubble, which has burst, quite frankly. If you look at the Manheim Used Value Index, you see that, used car prices kind of go like this, and then during the pandemic, they went like this, and right now, they're right here. They're probably going to keep going down some. But then they'll level out. We've got 2 months of growth, right? That's good. We do think that these 2 months of rise in the Manheim Used Car Index will signify some stability. But we don't think that they mean that we're going to see another spike in used car values. Yeah, it stinks if you're selling, but it's good to have your expectations alongside what the market says. Total used car sales are down 13% compared with last year. But we've also seen used car prices, list prices, coming down as sellers sort of normalize their expectations with what the market is doing right now. So we think that number is actually going to go back up a little bit. I don't know that it's going to shoot 13% up in January, but I think as prices come down and the market levels, I think sales volume will also level. And so hopefully we'll see a little bit of that. It'll be, maybe you won't get record prices for your used car, but it'll be easier to sell a used car as the market sort of figures out what it's going to do for 2023. One of the reasons we're seeing used car prices level out is that new car prices haven't really come back down to earth since the supply chain shortage, right? We were paying so much money for new cars because they just weren't available, which is why used cars were so expensive earlier this year. It's because people they couldn't find a car at all. So they're willing to pay above market value for a used car, above new car prices for a used car. And so now we're seeing those prices, the availability come back up, but we're not really seeing new car prices go down. That's because manufacturers, they haven't had to have sales and specials, right? You think about the Honda days, the year-end savings event. It's because demand has been so high for cars. We'll see if manufacturers blink in the new year and decide to start offering those deals. But for the time being, that lack of savings on new cars is spurring a little bit more sales in used cars. So we are continuing to see this overall drop in value for used cars. But that is a drop off of just a wildly inflated price. Here's a great quote. Normally this is not something that you would see in an industry report because it's something that's always been taken as truth, right? In a December report, Cox Automotive chief economist Jonathan Smoke reminded his readers, and yes, despite a period in 2020 and 2021 when used vehicles were increasing in value, automobiles are depreciated assets. Over time, they always have been and always will be depreciating assets. So this is really interesting, is that we're having to remind people that, yes, automobiles cost less after you drive them off the lot. They're not an investment property. They are a car, which depreciates, quicker than a lot of things. And that's something that has always held true, except for this year. It's easy to see your neighbor sell a car for more than they paid for it and think, oh, well, I should be able to do that too. That was a weird blip on the radar. Used car prices are still unprecedented. These are still higher prices than anyone in their right mind could expect to sell a used car for, 2 or 3 years ago. Here's the hard truth. We're probably going to see used car prices continue to decline through 2023. But these little spikes in December give us a little hope that it's gonna be an easy decline. It's not gonna be a steep decline like it has been. That said, if you're looking to sell a car this year, you're not gonna make more money later. This is sort of the sweet spot, the beginning of the year, while prices have leveled out for a little while. Another thing to note is that if you have a car that hasn't been selling as well, like an SUV or a truck, this is sort of a sweet spot right now for you too, because as gas has gone down and prices have leveled out a little bit, people are seeing interest again in buying larger SUVs and trucks. So like if you got a big SUV, think about selling it right now. Speaking of gas prices, we got great news for everyone. They're still going down. That's right, gas prices. Record high this summer, right? We set used car price highs this year. We set gas price records this year. Seriously, these are all-time history of the world records. Ever since we hit that peak this summer, those gas prices have been on a steady decline. Sure, Wednesday, they went up a little bit, but they have been dropping week over week, month over month since this summer, and that is a welcome sight to see. As of Wednesday, 22 states had an average gas price of less than $3. That's right, less than $3. And here's the best part, is that I don't think gas prices are going up anytime soon. With all the worry we had about energy prices going into the winter, this is welcome news for everyone. Here's the kicker, is that demand is slower than it was last year. So it looks like some of the behaviors that we adopted this summer when gas prices were absolutely out of hand have stuck around. Also, there's obviously more hybrids and EVs on the road than there were last year, and that'll be a continuing trend going forward for the next probably decade. Even as demand is down, we're seeing supply continue to go up. So the U.S. gas supply is up by about 2.5 million barrels. So you combine that with our reduced demand, and you're seeing savings, baby. That's less money at the pump. So here's what AAA spokesperson Andrew Gross said earlier this month about kind of the state of gas prices going into the new year. So the cost of oil, gasoline's main ingredient, has been hovering in the low to mid $70 per barrel. And that's $50 less than the peak last spring. Combine that with low seasonal demand, gas prices could slide a bit more before leveling off. And we tend to agree with AAA. They're the experts on gas prices. So you're thinking, what do gas prices have to do with used car prices, right? It's a little weird because filling up your gas tank is minuscule compared to buying a used car, but those two prices are inextricably intertwined. So if we're worried about gas prices when we go buy a new car, then we're probably going to be looking at the fuel economy. And at the same time, if gas prices really aren't a concern, that's not something you're really thinking about as much when you buy a new car, right? So gas prices are low, let's get a big SUV. Gas prices are really high, you're thinking, should I switch to an EV? Like, is it time to make the switch? I don't know, is it? But now that gas prices are back down, we're seeing people buy larger SUVs and pickups that aren't necessarily like work trucks. We're just seeing more of that activity because people aren't thinking about gas prices when they're buying a new car. But overall, the takeaway is gas prices are down. They've been down. They're probably going to keep going down. Not quite as fast, but because, people like you, people like me have been driving a little bit less. My family switched to hybrids. Some people are walking more. Some people are taking public transportation after, those record high gas prices. So I think we are going to continue to see that drop a little bit. And if you're thinking about trying to sell a gas guzzler, do it while gas demand is low. Do it while people are staying home. Do it before the summer and spring travel season starts. That way, people aren't thinking about gas and they're more likely to make a better offer on your larger car. And now the moment you've all been waiting for, our predictions of the top 5 and bottom 5 cars to sell in January. All right, we're starting it off with the green light cars. We got trucks, Palisades and Tellurides. We've got SUVs in general, vans, and hybrid cars. Your red light cars this month. The cars you probably don't want to sell this month are going to be your Teslas, your luxury cars, your subcompact SUVs, full-size cars, and performance cars. This is the red light, green light. If you have a green light car, this is a good month to sell it. These are the cars that we've seen selling well leading into January, but that we also think market conditions will allow them to sell even better going forward. And then our red light cars are the cars that if I had to sell a car this month, it wouldn't be one of these. A lot of times buyers just can't offer the price that the seller wants on these, and a lot of that's just market conditions. So we'll get into each of these cars individually. The first thing we're going to talk about is trucks. Trucks are back, baby. That's right. People are buying trucks again. We're seeing some of this gas price stability combined with some of this market stability, making room for those trucks. So the The Hyundai Palisade and the Kia Telluride, these specific SUVs sell really well. People like them, they get good reviews, and it seems like they're wanting to hold on to them. So in that rare instance where we get one of these newer body types in, is gone. And while we're talking about SUVs, even larger SUVs are selling right now. In fact, almost all SUVs except for the really small ones are. And it looks like just people have a little more confidence in the gas price market. They don't expect gas prices to soar anytime soon. And so they're more willing to take a risk on a less fuel efficient vehicle. Vans are still selling. I say it every month. Vans, they sell. Cox Automotive's December industry update showed that vans were depreciating slower than any other body types. And then finally, hybrids. This summer, a lot of people made the switch because of gas prices, and we're just seeing that trend continue. Part of this is just also that they make more hybrids now. I would say just about every manufacturer has a hybrid or an EV. So we're just going to see hybrids continue to sort of tick up in the used car marketplace as availability goes up. All right, here's our red light cars. If you've got one of these this month and you can wait, I would wait. Here's one note of clarity. These cars, for the most part, are selling. They're just not getting as many offers as we'd like to see our sellers get. Except for this one car. This one car's not selling at all. Teslas. People are not buying these Teslas right now. I think it's because they were just so expensive this summer. Luxury cars have not done well this year. We don't expect them to start doing well in the new year anytime soon. It's just they depreciate so fast that the return is just not there in a market that's not super stable. Subcompact SUVs. This is the only category of SUV that's sort of depreciating quickly. I think a lot of that just has to do with the fact that with a little more flexibility in the gas market, people who want an SUV are going for the full thing. Similar to subcompact cars or performance cars, they sell, we sold Corvettes, we sold Challengers, we sold all your, performance cars last month. We just, again, weren't selling as high a percentage of them. Finally, full-size cars. I think if, people who want a fuel-efficient car are going for something smaller and maybe a hybrid, and people who want something a little bit bigger are going for a crossover, right? There's so many options now available that I just think the sedan is just not as popular as it was. All right, so that's your market rundown. Used car prices have leveled out for the first time in the back half of this year. Gas prices are still going down. They're going to keep going down. And you got your list of the cars to sell or to avoid selling in January. We hope you have a very happy new year. And good luck selling.